You've probably heard a lot about how awful it is to modify your car in California, and while some of the horror stories you hear might be a bit exaggerated, they're not all that far off the truth. California has the strictest automotive laws in the country, possibly in the world, and today I'm going to break down what it's really like to be an enthusiast here from someone who's been through pretty much all of it. From modified exhaust to tinted windows, pretty much anything you want to do to customize your car can put you on the wrong side of the law. But why is it so difficult, and what makes California such a challenging place for car enthusiasts, yet the center of car culture in the US? Let's dive into the details and talk about it today. Now, first things first, let's talk about why California's automotive laws are so strict. It all boils down to one thing: emissions. California has long been a leader in environmental regulations, and this extends to cars. The state's air quality standards are among the toughest in the world, and as a result, any modifications that could potentially increase emissions or affect the vehicle's emission control systems are tightly regulated, which is to say, illegal. The California Air Resources Bureau, or CARB, is the agency responsible for enforcing these regulations. CARB's job is to ensure that all vehicles on California roads meet the state's stringent emissions standards. This means that any performance parts, including intakes, exhausts, tunes, engine components, heck, they'd regulate the wheels if they could, must be CARB approved and carry a CARB Executive Order EO number to be legally installed and used on a vehicle on California roads. Here's where it gets tricky though. Not all aftermarket parts are CARB approved. In fact, most popular performance parts, like certain cold air intakes, turbo kits, exhaust systems, again, really anything you want to do to your car, don't have CARB approval. This is why you'll often hear car enthusiasts in California talking about CARB legal versus 49 state legal parts, the latter being legal-ish everywhere except California. So let's say you've modified your car in the state of California. Maybe you've installed a new exhaust system that gives your car that perfect rumble, or you've added a cold air intake to squeeze out a few extra ponies. You're feeling good, your car looks good, it sounds good. But then you see those dreaded red and blue lights in your rear view mirror. You're getting pulled over. You're asking, chat, am I cooked? In California, driving a modified car can feel like you're constantly rolling the dice. The most common reasons for being pulled over are modified exhaust or window tint. Both of these are extremely visible and audible to an officer and give them a reason to stop you. But the real trouble starts once you're actually pulled over. See, in California, police officers have the right to ask you to pop the hood of your car if they suspect that your vehicle doesn't comply with state regulations. And here's the kicker: this isn't considered an illegal search. In the eyes of California law, all police officers are licensed vehicle inspectors. So when they ask you to pop your hood, it's just a roadside vehicle inspection, not a search requiring a warrant or probable cause. Refuse to pop your hood, and you could be arrested on the spot. Now, once that hood is up, the officer is going to be looking for two things primarily: any modifications and whether or not those modifications have a CARB EO number sticker. If you've got aftermarket parts that are not CARB approved, you're in trouble. The severity of the situation depends on the officer. Some might give you a stern warning, others could issue a fix-it ticket, and a fix-it ticket means you have to return that part of your car, and ideally your whole car, to stock, take it to a police station, get it signed off by an officer, and then you're good to go-ish. But the worst case scenario here, a state ref ticket. Now, the state referee system is an enthusiast's worst nightmare, and let's talk about the dreaded state ref. If you're issued a state ref ticket, which I have been issued many, your car is essentially deemed unfit for road use until it passes a rigorous inspection by a state referee. The state referee is a specialty emissions inspector. Think of them as like a smog shop owned by the state, whose job it is to ensure that your car is 100% with California emissions laws, meaning it needs to be essentially stock or have only CARB-approved parts. But CARB-approved parts aren't a guarantee, so it's better to just put it back to stock if this happens. Getting a ref ticket is a huge hassle. You have to make an appointment with the referee, take your car in, and have it thoroughly inspected with a fine-tooth comb. If your car doesn't pass, you're looking at hefty fines and potentially having to replace or remove all non-compliant parts. Till you pass the state ref inspection, you're not legally allowed to drive your car on public roads. If you get caught driving it before it's cleared, you could be arrested or have your car impounded, usually both. This system is designed to be a deterrent against non-compliant or illegal modifications, and it works. The threat of a state ref ticket is enough to make many enthusiasts think twice about how far they want to go with their modification journey. With all these restrictions, you might be wondering why anyone in their right mind would bother modifying their car in California. The answer is simple. It's passion. Car enthusiasts are a dedicated bunch, myself included, and for many, the joy of driving and customizing their car outweighs the risks in California. Despite the strict laws, many people drive modified cars for years, even decades, without ever running into trouble. While it's true that California has some of the toughest automotive laws on the planet, enforcement is pretty sporadic. Oddly enough, many police officers are car enthusiasts themselves, and some are more lenient than others when it comes to modified vehicles. They might let you off with a warning, or they might not bother you at all if you are not being reckless.
And if you stay, you will be arrested for trespassing. You don't have to go home, but you gotta get out of here. Especially if you drive a slow Honda.
Meanwhile,
I myself have been pulled over a number of times in my heavily modified R32 GTR. The car's got a big single, it's got a hood dump, it's got the whole 9 yards. The first time I was pulled over, the car got state ref'd. Subsequent to that, I've had the hood popped, cops have looked at it, one of them's asked me what the setup was, the other one threatened to ref me but then didn't, and it really depends on what city you're in. South Orange County, as an example here in Southern California, is extremely strict on car modification laws, and we've got a video on our channel that talks all about Ian in his GT350, which is a bone stock car, getting hassled by Newport PD. Meanwhile, if you're up here in the Inland Empire where our warehouse is, cops are generally pretty cool about modified cars. So it's one of those things where the sporadic enforcement makes it challenging to say as a blanket that California is like a terrible place to modify your car, because it really just depends on how lucky you get and how cool the cop is. So with that said, another reason people continue to modify their cars is the vibrant car culture in California. From the canyons of Malibu to the streets of LA, desert in San Bernardino, California is home to some of the most diverse and active car scenes in the country. Whether you're into JDM, whether you're into classic muscle cars, exotic European sports cars, trucks, pre-runners, lifted, lowered, there's a community here that shares your passion. The chance to be a part of this culture and enjoy the incredible driving roads and the events that are literally nightly is worth the risk for many enthusiasts. So how do you survive as a car enthusiast in California? Well, here's some basic tips to help you navigate the legal minefield and keep your car on the road. This is not legal advice. 1. Stick to CARB-approved parts. If you're serious about modifying your car, but you want to stay within the bounds of the law, stick to CARB-approved parts. These parts have been tested and approved by the California Air Resources Bureau, meaning that they are legal enough to install and won't get you in trouble during a roadside inspection for the most part. Some cops aren't cool about this, but it kind of nullifies the ticket, so there you go. Next up is keeping your car subtle. One of the best ways to avoid unwanted attention from law enforcement is to keep your car's appearance relatively stock or subtle. Loud exhaust, flashy paint jobs, extreme body kits, being super lowered, tons of camber, they're all likely to attract the wrong kind of attention. If you keep your mods low-key, you're less likely to be stopped in the first place. Third up is knowing your rights and the laws. It's crucial to know your rights and the laws regarding vehicle modifications in California. As an example, while police can ask you to pop your hood, they need a legitimate reason to do so, like visible modifications on the exterior of your car or the sound of your exhaust. Understanding laws can help you navigate interactions with law enforcement more confidently. Fourth, building a relationship with a performance shop. In California, all vehicles must pass a smog check every 2 years, and building a relationship with a performance shop that can steer you in the direction of, hey, here's how to modify your car to stay within the bounds of like, what is CARB legal, what is not, here's smog shops that are maybe a little more lenient, they can kind of guide you through that process. Generally, any modification is going to trip up a smog shop, so working with a performance shop that has a connection to one is a great choice. And fifth and last, be prepared for the worst. If you're going to modify your car in California, you have to be prepared every time you drive it for the possibility of receiving a state ref ticket. Have a plan in place for how you're going to revert your car back to stock if needed, and alternative transportation for how you're going to get around. Keep any stock parts you remove so you can reinstall them if necessary. It's also a good idea to set aside a little bit of cash for potential fines or repairs, just in case. Remember, you can't drive that car on the road once it's refed, so don't be caught driving it and go to jail. Make sure you got money for Ubers or a daily or something like that. So wrapping it all back up, is it worth it to be an enthusiast in California? Yeah, it is. But only if you're willing to accept the risks and the challenges that come with it. California's automotive laws they're the worst, to be frank with you, and they can make modifying your car be a stressful experience. But given how vibrant the car community is here, given the driving roads, all the opportunities, everything we got going on literally every single day, 7 days of the week, it's worth it to modify your car. It's just about balance. You have to balance your passion for modifications and how far you want to go with your car car with the reality of the laws. It's about knowing the risks and making informed choices, finding ways to enjoy your car without constantly looking over your shoulder. And if you can do that, you're going to find that being a car enthusiast in California is still one of the most rewarding experiences in the car community. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, if you found it interesting, and if you want to see more content like this, drop a comment down below. If you like the channel so far, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to keep notifications on and see everything we post. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're interested in a set of wheels, pick them up from our website, and I'll see you in the next one.